When American revolutionaries established a new government based on the sovereignty of the people, it was truly a radical idea. The power of the nation was not entrusted to a monarchy, but to its citizens. Each generation since continues to debate and shape this bold experiment. The Smithsonian's exhibition, Voices and Votes: Democracy in America, explores questions sparked by that revolution. Who are the people? Whose voice will be heard? How do we spark participation? And what are the rights and responsibilities of citizens? In late 2019, the Smithsonian went into towns hosting the exhibition to further examine these questions with community members. Although their views are unique and may be different from our own, can we find commonalities and opportunities for conversation? Where do you see yourself in this evolving story of American democracy? In our pursuit of a more perfect union, the First Amendment establishes that Congress shall make no law restricting the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. On the streets, through lobbying, speaking with representatives, creating art, and using the media of their times, Americans of every background embrace the revolutionary spirit of protest and speaking out. Everyone has a voice in our democracy through protest and petitioning. There can be many forms of petitioning: writing letters, collecting signatures, or simply speaking to representatives. Many people see their representatives as unapproachable, but for Christina from Florida, citizens have a responsibility to reach out.
When I think about the word civic responsibility, what comes to mind is the John F. Kennedy quote, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." And so to me, the number one thing is voting when I hear this quote comes to mind, and how it's our civic responsibility to voice our opinions, but also to participate in the political process because we can, and because we are able to, and given those freedoms and the right to voice our opinions. So if we're able to, we should, because we are one of the nations that allows its citizens to participate and to have an active role in our government, and that's something that should never be taken lightly. It's instrumental. It's why we have freedom, it's why we have independence and things like that. And so on top of voting, we should also talk to our representatives. I mean, going out to rallies, going to, like we have in Haines City, we have a pig roast whenever there's an election, and all the candidates are there, and you go around and just talk to them.
One person speaking out for change can have an impact, especially on the local level. Commissioner Leo Longworth from Bartow, Florida, has seen the power of using your voice and protesting as both an activist and a politician.
Some time ago, I learned that the government closest to the people is the government that works best. And it really does. I mean, you don't see your congressperson or your state legislators in Publix or in the hardware store or in the convenience store, but they see us, and they see us every day, all the time. And that's not bad. That's a good thing, because I've been able to garner input from people, and it helps me to make better decisions. And I'll tell you something else too, something that impacted my life back in college. I was around when, so I went to school and college and South Carolina State University in Orangeburg, South Carolina. And in 1968, we had what is now called the Orangeburg Massacre. The Orangeburg Massacre was when we as students were trying to integrate a bowling alley, and we were trying to just have a better quality of life for the people in the city. And I wasn't directly involved all the time, but I was there, and 3 students were killed. And it just came to me, it kind of crystallized in my mind that we need to make sure that we have a voice wherever we are in our community.
Protesting is not always in the streets. Sometimes works of art and performance can be catalysts of change. Dr. Tamika Sanders, an arts advocate, poet, and educator, knows this firsthand, participating in events of resistance and unity.
As an artist, a lot of times I use words of importance, and I grew up using words as kind of the staple, my poetry and spoken word, as this platform for me to be able to get my story out, to make people listen that otherwise probably would not listen to a little brown girl from South Phoenix. They would just get dismissed. And so a lot of times with my art, especially with during like the voting season, we use that. And so I think with my art, a lot of times it's being able to showcase those voices. And again, the voices that can't vote right now, but the decisions we make today are gonna affect them. And so they should have a say and they should be heard so that hopefully they can influence the people who are voting, who are making, the decisions for them. And so that's how I use my art. It's a lot of poetry, it's theater, it's storytelling, but it's all coming from people and looking at everything you can think about: power dynamics, youth, looking at religion, sexual orientation, and right now it's going to be civic engagement and voices, mostly whose voice is being heard and whose voices are being left out.
What do you think about protesting and petitioning? Tell a story important to you. Share your story with a friend. Search for other Voices and Votes programs in your community, or talk back to the Smithsonian by visiting museumonmainstreet.org and let us hear your story.